Welcome back to the Loss Prevention News Network. I'm Joe LaRocca. Today's episode is about building an analytics program in a retailer, as analytics continue to play a critical role in the LP efforts of every retailer. Find out what's involved in building one from scratch. With the entire company playing a role, collaboration and integration are the keys to its success. In this session, we'll hear how two retailers are building their programs. With us today is Maurice Cloutier, VP of Loss Prevention for Ann Inc., and Rob LaCommare, AVP Asset and Profit Protection and Risk Management at Justice Stores. And I kind of blew his name. Gentlemen, thanks for being here today. Mo, first question to you. You're involved in a process of building an analytics program currently. Can you start us at the beginning and walk us through the process of how you've sold senior management and you've integrated the effort throughout the organization?
Sure. I'll kind of start with what, prior to getting into this program, we had kind of a vanilla exception package. It had your 5 or 6 different touch points and, primarily loss prevention based information. And what we're in the process of building now is more data from multiple functional areas, looking at some of those traditional functional areas that maybe we didn't feel that their data would have value. So really going through the whole organization, taking a look at a couple things. Number one, what do they currently have that we can get as a quick hit? But then also, how can we help them enhance what data they are getting and try to get it into, a true dashboard, a true location where it's not just loss prevention information, but it is, the multiple functional areas. So, and then just back to the whole senior leadership and the buy-in. In retail's current environment, in this economic environment, we went to our senior leadership and we felt strongly that with an enhanced tool of getting better, or I should say sooner visibility into where the shortage is, where the volume is, that we could do more store touches, if you want to say. So we have a pretty robust, what we call a target store program, but it's managed by the high shortage locations. And we felt to a certain extent that, okay, we can manage those, but then shortage would start to creep up in the outlying areas. So which is really the main purpose for a true analytics program is to get as much data possible so that we can increase, the number of store touches that we get to the shortage, before it happens, and but yet do it with the same talent and the same workflow, so to speak.
That makes complete sense. Mm-hmm. So, Rob, at Justice Stores, how is your program proceeding?
Well, like Mo, we had to get the data first, and thanks to David Shugan at Carter's, and I think we both can agree he was a big help to us. He got about a 6 to 8 month head start and allowed me a roadmap, if you would, to say, here's what it is that you need to do to gather the data. And to Mo's point, I got it from human resources, finance, marketing, senior leader buy-in allowed for that. And we now have over 1,400 data streams that we already had segmented in different departments feeding into our program. Right now, and we back tested it for 3 years versus our shrink, and we were able to predict our shrink within, at the macro level, about within $100,000. So now the key is, like Mo had alluded to, we're about ready to embark on a PI. Now we're going to test it with our real numbers and see halfway through the season what are those stores that are trending up. And we didn't put them on the target program because they weren't high shrink, but this program now, if it's good at the macro level, is it good down to the store level? And can we find out in June and July what stores would have been shrink in 6 months and make an impact? And that's about where we're at right now as we back tested the data, and we're very excited about seeing what it can do for us go forward with our next PI result.
That's amazing visibility to the organization. I'm sure many people are so jealous of you and what you're doing right now. How do you get a project like that funded? And how do you get the buy-in of the CIO and the other technologists inside the company?
Well, when you, to Mo's point, when you tell them what it is that you're going to be able to do, from a dollars standpoint, you get their attention. Our target program graduates about 75% of the stores that are on the program, and probably most retailers in here would come in here and talk about the success of that program. So imagine if halfway through the year, and there's a real dollar amount associated with that. We know what shrink is, we implement a program, we know what we saved.
Right.
So imagine if we can get to 30, 40 more stores and have that same kind of impact that we wouldn't have had knowledge and insight into. You throw those numbers at them, you instantly get the senior leaders on board. And that's key, because the hardest part in this whole thing was gathering the data from departments who are very protective of their data. Why do you need turnover information? Why do you need this exactly for marketing? And when we showed them the dollars of what we can make, profit from that, it became a little bit easier for us.
Yeah, and it goes through, you know, whatever your internal company's ROI process is, you know, you have to show a return. And again, from our perspective, was more touches, same, you know, head count, so to speak,
right,
which should, you know, overall impact the shortage. Another good part of our process as we went through it, if you want to call it the discovery phase, when you sit with the multiple functional areas, you know, to Rob's point, some of them are going to be sensitive to, it's not that they don't want to share your information. A lot of us can, well, some of us can tend to get a little defensive if I start asking you about your numbers and how are your numbers working, right, and whatnot. So when we had the dialogue with those different functional areas, we started with, what are your goals? What are your objectives? How are your teams measured? So, and then from there, took their data, so that it didn't just make sense to us, but in essence, they were getting a BI system,
right,
that had data that they could read,
right,
before we did a physical inventory, before we waited, you know, until the end of the year. So, you know, I'd say one point to be, I'd say, sensitive to is, as you're asking these newer functional areas about their business, we have to explain that it's equally an advantage for you. This isn't just about, you know, chasing shortage. It's not just about, you know, decreasing shortage. It's about all functional areas having the availability to the data so that we can all be better, we can all decrease the shortage, and by the way, we'll all make more money.
And final question, where would you recommend that a retailer start if they were looking to build an analytics program?
I would say from my perspective, the first start would be, go to those functional areas that you don't typically have dialogue with, and go to your IT department, because there's no question within retail, within a lot of organizations, everything goes through IT. So, you know, once you have the partnerships and understand what their programs are that they have going, weave or integrate your program into an existing, or again, show where the value added is to just help us all run our business better.
That's great. Rob, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think you have to diagnose whether you have the right talent to build it from scratch as well, too. I happen to be very lucky that somebody that we had hired several years back to data mine and work into our EBR platform also has the skill set to build this program. I'd like to say that I knew that when we brought him on board 6 years ago, but this topic wasn't even at this event. So he had the skill set to build it. If not, be realistic, because it's not easy. There's a lot of math involved. You really have to understand regression analysis. And if you don't have somebody that can build it from within, you'll have to look, and there are no shortage of solution providers out there that offer this. So be realistic about what you can build, or you kind of get stuck in neutral.
That is fantastic advice. Gentlemen, thank you so much. This is Rob LaCommare, yes?
Got it.
Got it. And Mo from Justice Stores, and Mo Cloutier from Ann Taylor Inc. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Joe LaRocca with the Loss Prevention News Network, your #1 source of LP news and information.